Hello and welcome to the Middle School Math Summit. I'm your host, Kathy Martin, and I am so excited to bring you our interview with the one and only Kristen Moore. Kristen, thank you so much for being part of our event. I am so excited to chat and talk all things simple steps to launch project-based learning, or PBL, and Skyrocket student engagement. For those who may not know you, can you share a little bit about yourself and your life as an educator?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Kathy. Hey, everybody. My name is Kristen Moore, and I am a high school math teacher and an instructional coach. And I've kind of always known that I wanted to be an educator. In the late 90s, there was this Barbie, Teen Talk Barbie, and she got in trouble for saying math class is tough. And I always kind of wanted to know why, like she was pulled from the shelves. So that kind of sparked my interest in pursuing math. Like, why were people angry that she was saying math is tough? And it's because, of the way people view women in math and that. So that sparked my passion early on. And then, so I went to college and became a math teacher. I really thought I was going to get a position at the school district that I interned at. I loved it. I thought I did great. But, destiny or budget cuts maybe had some other plans. So I ended up at this super new, innovative charter school where all they did was project-based learning. Everything was competency-based, mastery-based, and project-based learning. And I thought it was just the most exciting opportunity for me to be able to show not only just women how powerful math can be, but to show a lot of students how powerful math can be and how you really do use math in your everyday life. So I spent 10 years of my teaching career there. I helped them open 2 new campuses. We trained a bunch of schools on how to use PBL. And since then, I ventured back into our local district, our local big district here, and I'm bringing PBL more mainstream. And I've just been having a great time kind of sharing that experience with educators worldwide.
First off, I love that you were a rebel and you were like, no, like Barbie, no, like,
Yeah.
why are we, no, women need to be, can be in the forefront of math, just like, anybody else. I love that. I didn't know that about you. That's amazing that,
Yeah.
kind of sparked your math journey.
Exactly. I know you never know what's going to spark somebody's interests and passions, but
Yeah. Amazing. So you really are, like, at least to me, the go-to person for all things project-based learning. Can you just kind of tell us what it is, like what is project-based learning in case no one's ever heard of it, or if you're like, I've kind of heard of it, but I really don't know what it is. And why should we as middle school math teachers kind of give it a try? Not be afraid anyway.
right. No, it's amazing. So I think a lot of people get confused with doing a project and project-based learning. And projects can be a really great alternative form of assessment, but project-based learning is really more of an instructional approach. So it's in the entire way that you're shaping your unit, not just how you're assessing things. So it's a teaching approach where your students are going to be actively engaging in some sort of real world investigation or exploration undertaking of the mathematics. And when you teach with PBL, your entire unit is really focused on what your essential question is and how they're going to be able to answer that using the mathematics embedded. And so I think middle school teachers are at like the prime opportunity to give it a try because you've got students at an age where they're still really naturally curious about the world. And they're getting to the age where they're starting to get a little bit jaded about some of the content areas. Now that everything's separated, they're like, well, I don't really like science or I don't really like math, but you've got an opportunity to show them just how much math is really embedded into their daily lives. And that's going to be so exciting for them to really make that connection between everything that's going on and this underlying mathematics. And that helps them get a deeper understanding and appreciation for it. And then it makes my job a little easier when they come to high school. It's not such a hard sell on me.
I heard you say there's an essential question. So that tells me that that's kind of a piece of it. So give me like the down and dirty of it all. Like, how do I get started with project-based learning without feeling like it's a whole nother beast I have to conquer on top of everything else that I'm teaching? Can you elaborate a little bit more on, like on just how to get started? What's kind of like the basis of it all?
Yeah, Absolutely. So a lot of people get intimidated when they go to plan a project. And I think it's because people aren't getting the right topic and target alignment at the beginning. Like that's the most crucial thing. So if you want to get started with it, a great time is in the summer, looking at all of your units up ahead and picking out 2 to 3 that seem like they might be a good fit for a project-based learning experience. Not every standard can be learned through project-based learning. And that's where people are struggling, is they're trying to teach the wrong targets with the wrong instructional approach. So best fit units are ones that are going to address those standards that are modeling based or application based in nature. And then you kind of embed those more conceptual and procedural ones inside, right? So you're still going to get some daily practice with math skills, but you're kind of overarching it with a real good application based thing. So I actually have a resource to share with everybody with all of the middle school standards, the Common Core state standards for middle school broken down, identifying which are the best topics or targets rather that can align really well to create good project-based learning experiences. So I'm excited to share that. So, okay, once you've identified your 2 to 3 topics, right? You are going to then try to think about how you can make that relevant to your students. And I think that's the other mismatch people have. You've got to make sure that the project you're asking them to do matters to them in some way. And so when you're planning way at the beginning, you've got an opportunity to go through and see what's interesting to your students, what are they kind of latching onto, and every group of students is going to be a little bit different. So I find a lot of really great connections with the different games that they're playing, whatever's been popular. I try to follow up on that during the summer, see what they're doing. Angry Birds, I got to run with that one for a couple of years for projects because it was so popular. But then movies and shows that they're interested in, things that they watch, or what's happening in the world around us. So just kind of taking stock of those and finding, okay, I know that I've got linear relationships coming up. And I know that these are some interesting topics that my students might like. So that's going to be a good match. And once you've got that match, you just kind of think, well, what are the end products? What are 2 to 3 ways my students could demonstrate that they've learned the math and they know how it applies in this situation? And that's great because you're not telling them the one thing they have to do. A lot of projects are just make a poster about this or make a video about this, but you want to really give them that autonomy in PBL because everyone's going to take it a little bit differently. And so they kind of want to show what they know a little bit differently. And either way, they're going to be able to answer that essential question, like you said. So your essential question really frames that whole unit. It's how you're connecting that target and topic that you picked. And you're just going to keep revisiting that all the way throughout. And once you've got this framework, like really, you can take your own curriculum and plug and play it right back in. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. That's the best part. A lot of people think in PBL, you have to create everything yourself. Absolutely not. I will take lessons and practices from textbooks, from Khan Academy, Delta Math, whatever it is that you've already got. Don't reinvent the wheel.
That's awesome and good to know, because when I think of project-based learning, I think I got to create everything. Mm-hmm. Giant, it's just this giant beast that I just don't even want to tackle it. So I'm not going to do it because it already feels overwhelming. So it's like, I can't, Do you have any examples? I hate to put you on the spot, but any examples that you can think of like essential questions that you've used in the past? Like, oh gosh.
Yeah. So there's one, like, how do I prove I'm right? And so we take that question and we can answer it with a lot of statistics to back it up. So anytime you're looking at data, I know that presents itself in pretty much every grade band ever. That's a great one. How do I prove I'm right? And so they have to take a stance on something and use statistics to back up their claim. Another one is like, how do we prevent, and then whatever it is that you're trying to prevent. And so most recently we could do, how do we prevent the spread of disease? And I originally did that like way back when the Ebola outbreak was newsworthy. And clearly we've had some more recent events that make that. I
think that might be too close. Too soon. Right?
Okay. But how do we prevent like the loss of an endangered species? Exponentials can go either way. You could spread something or something could be on the decline. And so we do that. How do we save somebody. We also did one, change the challenge. What was it? How do we go viral? Thinking about how you're going to measure that and what are the different factors involved. And let's see, geometry comes up in all levels. So
that was my first thought when you were saying like you like the measuring, it was like geometry, like surface area, volume, like that was where my mind like initially went. And then thinking about how do we build around that?
Exactly. Yeah. So I did a great project. I kind of change it every year, but it's a packaging project. And so I've taken it different avenues, and it really just depends on what your students are interested in. I had one group of students who was really interested in marketing aspects of things. And so we looked at packaging design from a marketing lens. Like, why do they have certain packaging? What's taking up the real estate on that packaging? And the whole time we're learning surface area and volume and how to make nets and connect those, right? But then I had another group that was really interested in recycling and sustainability. And so it was, how do we design packages most efficiently? And so we looked at it that way, like what materials are we using? How can we make it so that we're using less packaging while still preserving the product? So there's a lot of ways you can take something like that.
That's awesome. It continues to amaze me that the youth of America, like I'm regularly reminded that the world will be okay with some, you know, like I was not in middle school, I was not thinking about sustainability and recycling and, you know, like it's amazing.
Right. It's amazing. And so again, it comes back to what's relevant to your kids right now. You can teach anything, right? It's just finding that right connection. So if you've identified those 2 to 3 topics that you think, or targets that you think are going to be a good fit, like, okay, I could probably make a project around this. It's easily going to be a statistics unit. Any statistics you have to teach, easy PBL. Any geometry you have to teach is another good, easy fit for PBL. And then any type of like relationships. So I know like ratios and proportions are big in middle school, linear relationships, kind of thinking along those lines, something that is functional or that you see a lot in the real world. Those are going to be your 3 best bets for picking out those 2 to 3 topics to work on throughout the year.
Do you have any tips or advice on how we can use PBL to like accommodate all learning levels, like not just the struggling ones, but the gifted ones as well?
Yeah. So I think that if we're talking about like the packaging project, for example, if I know that I want my students to all be able to create models, right? So they're looking at the 2D nets and the 3D shapes, and I want them to work with it fluidly. I want them to be able to use the formulas, do the computations, and to model what that looks like. So I know what my central learning target is, my grade level standard. And then I kind of want to figure out what is my whole Goldilocks zone for this. So I want to look at what essential skills do they need to have already that I can embed into that. And then what are the skills that are going to push it a little bit beyond that? What's going to be next for them in terms of this application? So in like that wasted space project, I had students who I knew were struggling, and I still had the same expectations that they were going to make the nets and the models and use the formulas, but we focused on some more of the simpler shapes. So we focused on a lot of different prisms and cylinders and things that were pretty common that we could take apart and put back together pretty easily. Then my, students who were a little bit more advanced or were just up for a little bit more of a challenge, we could use something like cups are a little bit funny shaped. They're not quite a perfect cylinder, right? They've got I don't remember what
they're like wider at the top. And
exactly. But they were able to, they can figure out slant height and things like that. And they were able to apply it to a little bit of a different context. And then my more advanced students, I could push them further to explore, how do I open this up a little bit more? So things like beauty products and perfume bottles are all constructed in really fancy different ways, and thinking about like, okay, aesthetically this is beautiful, but how can I make this still aesthetically appealing but reducing some of that material involved? So kind of just helping guide the kids towards a little bit more, I don't know what the word is that's coming to my head, I'm blanking. Anyways, helping them meet it at the right level for them. And then I still put them in groups. So my kids are all still working together. My student who's working on the perfume bottle, somebody else in that group is working on the box packaging that's coming in, because that's what they're going to be stronger at and better able to support their group with than the student who's doing the perfume bottle.
That's awesome. You kind of hinted at it already, but I'm providing those with the VIP upgrade ticket with an incredible gift. So if you have not upgraded your ticket, you're going to want to click the link below this video to grab it, because Kristin's resource is truly amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I've looked at it and I'm like, wow, I can't even believe she's giving this away.
So the gold standard project planner. Yes. Yeah. That is my go-to tool. It's been my go-to tool for the last 10 years of creating PBL. And it walks you through the entire process of figuring out what standards you're trying to work with, what topics best align with that, how to write that essential question in a good way. And it's got links in there to get you the middle school standards or the high school standards, depending on what you're working on, so you know right away what's going to be there. And it takes you through the whole process. PBL Works is like the leader in PBL education, and they have come up with the gold standard framework. It's 7 essential elements, all focused on learning targets and making sure your students are going to learn what you want them to learn. And so I took that and I crafted it into a tool that is useful for math teachers in particular, to think about how you're going to be addressing all of the mathematics standards through project-based learning, how you're going to be able to plug and play your own curriculum into there, and what's just going to make sense for you.
That's amazing. And in our bonus interview, you and I are actually going to go through a mock. We're going to actually create a PBL together, and we're going to focus on slope intercept form, because I know, teaching slope intercept form is definitely a skill that comes up in 7th and 8th grade. I'm really excited about it. We have not prepped anything, so it's literally just going to be you and me going for the first time. And I will be perfectly honest, not a PBL. I have zero experience with PBL. So you
will see exactly how simple it can be. We're going to create a framework, and from there you plug and play your own materials into it, and it's going to be a really good experience for you and your students. I'm excited.
I'm super excited because honestly, it's something that I've heard. I know about PBL. I've been teaching for 13 years and I've been just avoiding it. I'm like, no, not for me, because it has literally always felt like this monster piece. And it's like, of all the things I have to do, I don't want to learn that, so I'm excited about the potential of using your gold standard playbook and incorporating that, and then doing this walkthrough with you to get going with it. So I'm excited. So again, if you have not upgraded your ticket, you're going to want to click that button below this video, upgrade your ticket, because you're going to want to check this out. So Kristin, thank you so much for hanging out with me, telling us all about PBL. Where can we go and learn more about you, follow you, and learn more from you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm most active on Facebook. You can join me in my Facebook group, the Modern Math Teachers Movement. I talk about all things PBL in there all the time. You can also follow me on any socials at More Than Just X. And yeah, that's where you can find me. That's where we can connect.
Amazing. Your Facebook group is a super active place, and I love I know you're always doing like mini PD, bite-sized PDs. Like, it's been very, very helpful. So check out Kristin's Facebook, follow her on Instagram, and go learn from her. So thank you, Kristin, and we will see everyone in our bonus session. Bye for now.
Bye.